Oh, hey, Justin here. Don't mind me. All the secret poets are spending time in nature today to find inspiration for our poems. I'm taking pictures to give me ideas for what to write about. This week, we're focusing on writing a certain type of poem that often talks about nature. Now, let me finish up here, and I'll tell you about it. This poem was the inspiration for this week's Secret Poets mission. It's called The Old Pond by Matsuo Basho. We've talked a lot about poems throughout this unit, their structure, sound devices, and figurative language. So think about what you've learned so far as I read this poem and write down 3 things that stand out to you about how it's written. An old, silent pond. A frog jumps into the pond. Splash. Silence again. It's pretty short, right? The whole poem is only 3 lines. It also takes place in nature, which we know because the poet repeatedly mentions a pond. And maybe you even caught the onomatopoeia in line 3, splash. All of those things are really important for this type of poetic form, which is called haiku. It's a traditional Japanese poem that captures a single moment in time. Haikus often focus on nature or inspiring a specific emotion. Think of them as a poetic snapshot. And because they're a poetic form, we know they have to follow a set structure. Haikus will always have 3 lines and a 5-7-5 syllable pattern, meaning the first line has 5 syllables, the second has 7, and the third has 5. Check it out. An old silent pond, 5. A frog jumps into the pond, 7. Splash, silence, again, 5. You could see how haikus say a lot in very few words. And those words must be carefully chosen so they follow that 5-7-5 syllable pattern. So, you might be thinking, how are poets able to do that? Well, they use a tiny dose of imagery to really paint a picture for their readers. Remember, imagery is language that engages the 5 senses: sight, sound, smell, taste, or touch, in order to immerse readers in a text. In The Old Pond, which 2 senses do you think the poet is appealing to? Circle them in your notes and write the details that support your thinking. In this haiku, the poet mentions the silence of the pond, which is suddenly interrupted by the splash from the frog jumping in. Then, it's back to silence. The poet uses this simple descriptive language along with the onomatopoeia, splash, to appeal to your sense of sound so you can imagine what you would hear in this moment. You can also envision the sight of a frog showing off his best belly flop into a still, quiet pond. Poets also use imagery to inspire those specific emotions that haikus are known for. Like in this haiku, A Poppy Blooms by Katsushika Hokusai. I write and erase. Rewrite, erase again, then a new poppy blooms. What emotions do you think the poet wants us to feel or relate to in this haiku? Write down 2 in your notes. As the haiku starts, the speaker is struggling to write something. Sure, you've been there before. You write something, then change your mind and erase it, write again, erase again, until boom, you get it just right. If you wrote down words like frustrated or excited, then you got it. Do you spot the imagery in this poem? It's in the last line. It's so sudden and powerful. How does the imagery evoke or inspire the emotions the poet wants us to feel? Use the sentence frames here to help you write your answer. Here's what I wrote. At first, the poet evokes feelings of frustration as the speaker struggles to write something. Then the poet uses imagery to help readers see the flower blooming. This inspires the feeling of excitement because it reminds us of how it feels to achieve something after working so hard. So, the poppy blooming is a metaphor that describes the moment of the speaker's achievement. The blooming of the flower is being compared to the blooming of a new idea. Being able to imagine this in our minds helps us understand the joyous emotion attached to it. Now that you've got the idea, let me show you how I write my haikus. This is a picture I took earlier, and I want to use it as inspiration. When I saw these two ducks in the pond, I imagined them being best buds saying hi to each other. I know how I feel when I see my friends and loved ones, so I wanted to capture that happy moment in my haiku. I start with the first line. It should have 5 syllables. Maybe I should set the scene by describing what the green duck is doing. Something like, a duck is slowly swimming. Oh, that's 7 syllables. That's too many. A duck swims slowly. Yeah, perfect. My next line has to have 7 syllables. It looks like the green duck is coming up to the brown duck, so I can say something like, greeting his feathered friend. Greeting his feathered friend. That's 6 syllables. It's too short. How about greeting his brown feathered friend? That works. And it adds some imagery so my readers can really picture it. Finally, the last line has 5 syllables again. Do you want to try writing it? Write a line that uses a tiny dose of imagery to capture how the duck friends are feeling in this moment. You got this. What did you write? How did you try to capture the emotion of this moment? I came up with 2 lines, and I'm not sure which one to go with. Which one do you think is better? Water rippling or they quack in delight? Well, I was inspired to write this haiku because I thought about the happy feelings you get when you see a friend or a loved one, so I think they quack in delight better captures that feeling. So, here's my final haiku. A duck swims slowly, greeting his brown feathered friend. They quack in delight. I think that's pretty good if I say so myself. Oh, and I need a title. How about Pals in the Pond? Oh. Thanks for helping me with my haiku. In your lesson materials, you'll practice writing a haiku on your own. Hang on to it because you'll be putting together a portfolio of your poems at the end of this unit. With the great work you've been doing so far, I bet these secret poets would be quite impressed. Good luck with that, and I'll see you next time.